Welcome to Lisbon's oldest neighborhood, dating back to the 700s AD. It has changed a lot of hands. The ancient Romans were nearby, then came the barbarian Visigoths, and then the Islamic caliphates, the Moors, and then it was the Reconquista of the Christians. So it has changed a lot of hands all throughout these centuries. But it remains a very vibrant neighborhood here in Lisbon, the capital city of Portugal. And we see the beautiful views right over here. So join me on the beautiful walk meandering through the streets of Alfama. And look, wow, the red tile roofs, just stunning views. I'm loving Lisbon. It has a whole lot to offer. There's a lot of sights to see, a lot of food to eat, a lot of bars to visit. And right now we are in the celebration of Lisbon. So there's a lot of parties the further up the hill that we go. Now, Alfama is not for the faint of heart. So there's a lot of hills to climb up. Directions might say 10 minutes, but it's going to feel like 30. Right here, we're gonna see all throughout the city ceramic tiles that cover the exteriors. They're also in the interiors of homes and buildings and churches all around Lisbon and Portugal as a whole. They're known as azulejos, and these date back to Moorish times. That was the Islamic Caliphate that ruled over the Iberian Peninsula, and these were meant to be temperature control, so we keep buildings cool during the summer and keep buildings insulated and warm during the winter. And we'll pass by a few buildings with the tiles on the external part, but I'm super excited to explore. Let me know where you're watching from. I am loving Lisbon. It's my last day here, so I wish I were here a little bit more time. Though it's not a city that has like these like world famous sites as like Paris, London, or Rome. There is a lot of wonderful little nooks and crannies in this city. Let me know if you see me and hear me. Mira says, I greet you from Israel. Thank you for this tour of Portugal. My pleasure. So you might be wondering, wait a minute. I saw Instagram stories of you exploring lots of areas of Portugal, but no live videos, barely short videos. Well, that's because I was in an actual vacation. I haven't taken a proper vacation in Europe in about 10 to 11 years. I've been doing Urbanist for 9 of those years. And every time I've gone to Europe, it's been for work. I've been doing these live videos, I've been doing documentaries, I've been doing a lot of short videos. But this was the first time I was with my girlfriend, and then we went from Lisbon to the Algarve, which is in the southern part of Portugal, and actually enjoyed time away from the phone, away from work, away from social media, and it felt wonderful. Though after the end of my vacation, because my girlfriend went back home, I stayed here because now I'm ready to go back to work mode. You know, Europe is still my office, so to speak. Hey, George says, Detroit in the house. All right, we're gonna hear some music. Usually there's people playing music up here. You were too early for me this Sunday morning. You probably don't see a lot of locals because it's Pentecost Sunday. Yeah. So I ended up taking a tuk-tuk tour. Tuk-tuk are like these little cars that are usually driven around in order to give people a really fast-paced tour through the tiny little streets of Lisbon. And the tour guide was actually telling me that Lisbon and Portugal as a whole still tends to be very Catholic, which actually was to my surprise, because people say that about Ireland and Italy, but it doesn't feel like that much anymore. Apparently, Catholicism is still taken very seriously in Portugal. So right here we see a beautiful tile. Oh, we see the tram. I'll point out the tram next time they pass by. They're passing by like clockwork and they're always packed. Here we see the old Alfama, if I'm correct. Or this might be... No, this might be the plaza. This is the plaza with the palace, if I'm correct, because we actually see the hill of Alfama right over there. But correct me if I'm wrong. But look at this beautiful tiling work. Just stunning. Triel do Paco. Pardon my Portuguese. Irene says you deserve a good vacation. Indeed I do. Indeed I did. I kind of need a vacation from the vacation as well, so. Lorraine, nice to see you here from Australia. Welcome. Hello, Ali from Oman. So we are what is called one of the miradores. Again, I'm pronouncing it in Spanish, but miradores, it's a lookout point. And this is one of the more famous ones. And Lisbon being a city of hills, there's a lot of lookout points. We can already hear the music streaming from downstairs. Lots of outdoor bars, which we're going to see some as we venture into Alfama. We can see the mighty Tagus River, the longest river in the Iberian Peninsula, which encompasses Portugal and Spain. I'm not sure if Andorra is part of the Iberian, let me know. But this river goes all the way to just south of Madrid. That's pretty deep inland. It spills out into Lisbon, out to the Atlantic. D-Man says hello from Atlantic Canada. Looks amazing. Yeah, Lisbon is a beautiful city. No wonder it has been popular throughout the past few years. It's actually the main reason I did not come here for so long. I've explored so many countries in Europe. I mean, the past year was like 20 countries in Europe. And I did not want to go to Lisbon because I saw so many vloggers covering it, so many Instagrammers taking photos of it. But I thought to myself, oh, this is kind of overdone. But my girlfriend was always dreamt of going to Portugal, and there was an opportunity to come over here, and I acquiesced to finally exploring Portugal and Lisbon. Now right here, so there's a few famous lookout over here, but this is a cool perspective over here that you might miss. Patty, nice to see you here. Patty says, I've been watching your photos for years. Patty, I'm so happy you're tuning in. Thank you so much. It is windy, so you're going to hear a lot of wind from the mic.
the umbrella, we're going again, all right? 5 minutes, just minutes. To see, to take some pictures. I'm okay?
Mater says that's how women change their way of thinking. Touche, Mater. Touche. Irene says these tiles remind you a lot of Brazil. Yeah, well, I mean, Brazil shares a lot of customs with Portugal. They were part of Portugal until the mid-1800s. Hey, Seeking says, I was like, you wouldn't like to retire here. And he looks down, reminding me somewhere in Mexico. Well, I mean, those houses don't seem too appealing because it's right by a famous lookout point buried in the dark crevices of this neighborhood. So, yeah, I stayed in a beautiful Airbnb. So there are beautiful apartments here. Wow, so this is the famous Tram 28. Here's St. Vincent, and St. Vincent has his namesake with that church over there. Okay, how's it going? Let me know how you're doing. Hello, Seeking. Nice to see you here. Hey, George says the Castello São Jorge was a pit stop on the show Amazing Race around season 20, and it was I just watched it on the marathon last week. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's a gorgeous castle. I end up going there. I posted videos of it, so you can check it out. Go on my Instagram to see further videos. I post a lot of Instagram stories. They also appear on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, YouTube doesn't really have a good feature for short little clips. So do follow me on Instagram. Same username. I'm across all the platforms now. I'm Urbanus Ariel. And I'll probably post another short video of the castle soon. Stay tuned. These trams are passing like every 5 minutes and they're so packed. Kind of crazy. So, let me know, have you guys missed the live videos? It's been a while. Aside from the live video earlier today, I haven't gone live in a few months. It's been like three months, the last live video. Yeah. Seeking says, Starlink should make a travel pack just for me. Yeah, I hope service is steady. That would be great to one day have extremely great service throughout everywhere, anywhere on Earth using a satellite connection like Starlink. That would be amazing. Soon, that'll be the future, but soon maybe everyone will just watch AI videos. Who knows? Kay says, I really, really miss the live videos. Mater says, yes, I miss the live videos. Ted says, great video content, thank you. We're visiting in the north, trying to come to the Minho region. Ooh. Well, I've been really indulging in the Portuguese wine, which is so amazing, especially Vinho Verde, which is a white wine from a specific region in northern Portugal, and also just white wine in general. Just been amazing. I'm not the biggest fan of red wine, but the white wine, delicious. Orange wine too is really good here. Lorraine says, I enjoy your short stories too, always packed with a lot of great information. Yes, I love packing my short stories with a lot of information. Irene says, yeah, I miss your lives. But it was like my birthday on the 6th, so I'll take this as a gift. Oh, happy birthday. All right, the party's about to get started soon, hence the music. And let me get into deep Alfama. Let's get into the city streets, shall we? This is exactly what I want in New York City. Can we have these running up and down the avenues in Manhattan? Also going up and down Brooklyn and Queens and the Bronx and maybe even Staten Island. Big Dave Zilla, ooh, Big Dave Zilla, nice to see you here, man. Says, I'm new to your channel, very interesting. Ooh, I'm glad you find it interesting. Thank you so much for watching. All right, let's go into Alfama. Happy birthday just a few days ago. Wow. This is Bob's Airbnb. Bob the Pigeon came with all of his friends. You know, these Airbnbs say no parties, but Bob does not listen to the rules. I'm not sure where I'm going, where I am, who I am. I have no idea, but we'll find out. Big Dave Zilla says, don't get mugged. You know, Lisbon is very safe. I felt safe almost the entire time I'm here. Beggars are a little bit pushy, but aside from that, it's a very, very safe city. right, we got up here quickly. This is the castle of St. George. Now, Portuguese is very different from Spanish. It is intelligible for me to read, and somewhat intelligible to hear if it's slow, but it has such a very different pronunciation that I don't know how to pronounce Portuguese. So I'm going to say some of these names in English or Spanish. Ooh, beautiful tiled building. So here's an example of a building completely covered in ceramic tiles, and these are ceramic tiles, not al fresco, as you would see in other cities like India. Miguel says, wow, you're my city. Hey, Miguel, happy to be here. Alan says, do you have any plans to come back to my home place of Ireland? Ooh, I would love to go back to Ireland at some point. Ireland is just the only downside is, because Ireland was an amazing trip. One of my favorite trips of all of Europe. But hotels and stay and lodging is so expensive. Everything else was pretty good price, but just the hotel stay, so expensive. Hey, George says, the thieves, I think they see you are filming and they might not want to have their faces online. Yes, that might be the case. Cool thing about Portugal is that you can buy fresh juices on the street. Benoit, nice to see you here. Hey, Alan says, I feel so bad because I loved your live streams from Ireland. I'd love to visit again. Yes. Maybe I'll be lucky and meet some cool Irish friends. Maybe we'll stay over, crash. We'll get sponsored by some Irish hotel chain.
Sim, sim.
O mais provável é serem para ali fora. Non, c'est pas ça, c'est pas...
So right now we are in the neighborhood of Alfama in Lisbon, Lisboa, Portugal. George says, I have feral cats in my neighborhood, no free-ranging peacocks. The peacocks escaped from the castle. Lisa says, Wepa, Wepa, Lisa, welcome.
Then you say no.
Stand auf dem Zettel, aber ich bin mir nicht sicher.
Mater says, that's so cool. Yeah. The castle is just spectacular. And we just walked around the perimeter. Right here is the exit. Hey, Alan, thank you so much for the offer. Appreciate that. I'll keep that in mind. Jeff, welcome. Nice to see you here. Susie says, nice peacock, male peacock, yes. I'm so glad so many people are tuning in. Welcome, welcome everyone. Right now we're in Alfama. Feel free to ask me any questions. The first time I stayed here in Lisbon, this is like the third part of my trip. Started off with Lisbon briefly for a day. I actually stayed in this Airbnb called Castle in Lisbon. It was right upstairs. It had beautiful views of the city from the bedroom. Amazing. Great air conditioning. Very needed on a hot day like today at 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And then my girlfriend and I went over to Algarve, which is southern Portugal. We went to two different stops down there. We went to a boutique hotel resort, and then we went over to a town called Carviero to do hiking and beaching, and both were wonderful. And then came back to Lisbon. Jeff says, will I be here for the Sardine Festival? Ooh, I don't know the details of the Sardine Festival. Do let me know. Wow, look at this. More ruins of the castle. So these castle walls are old. More than 1,000 years old as far as I know. There has been Iron Age fortifications here before then. And what we're seeing is what was part of the siege of Lisbon in 1147, when the Christian kingdom took back Lisbon and Portugal as a whole from the Islamic Caliphate, the Moors. It was the Crusades were not just fought in the Holy Land of Jerusalem, modern day Israel, and parts of Lebanon, but no, it was also fought here in what we know today as the Iberian Peninsula, Portugal and Spain. Crusaders came here from all around Europe. They came here from, let's go down this street, it's pretty beautiful. They came here from England, from France, modern day France, from Italy and elsewhere. And Crusader groups like the Knights Templar were involved as well. Daniel says, hello, Urbanist. Hello, Daniel. Nice to see you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you doing, Daniel? Jeff says, it's from the 12th to the 15th. It's a lot of fun. And Portugal usually has a big festival as well. Today is my last day in Lisbon. So I won't be able to go to the Sardine Festival. Though I did try sardines for the first time yesterday. Shockingly, did not have much opportunity to try sardines throughout my trip. But yesterday I had a nice fried sardines. They were so delicious, meaty, flavorful. But in my trip I've had a lot of golden bream, which is dorado. I've had sea bass, tuna, squid, octopus, mussels, and many other fishes. Big Dave says, no one expects the Spanish Inquisition. Great reference. I love it. Great reference. Let me see if this pastry shop is open. If it is open, I'm going to show you a pastéis de nata. Olá.
Olá.
Olá, pastéis de nata. Any left? No? Okay, let me see. You do? Okay. Okay. Perfect. I'll have those two. And then bottled water, please, still. Okay.
You pay only one, okay?
Yes.
€3.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. Ai, não sei o que é que hoje você comeu.
Obrigado. Have a good day. I got a nice little treat over here. So this is one of the best bakery shops in Lisbon. It's Pasteleria Santo Antonio, pronouncing it in Spanish. Portuguese is sound different, but it's really good. I've been here before. They apparently won an award for the best pastéis de nata in 2019. So let's give this a whirl. Now this is a classic pastry from Lisbon and from Portugal, and I'm so excited to try it out. The Portuguese, actually, if I'm correct, because I've had egg tarts for a good portion of my life. Let me know if you know why. It's not because I grew up in a Portuguese neighborhood. I barely encounter Portuguese culture in my life. I'm trying to put this camera down here, but it's not staying steady. I'll find a... There we go. I got another cool place to put my camera down. But I tried these things I've been having for a good portion of my life. But it's not because I grew up in the Portuguese area, and it's not because I grew up in the Brazilian area. It's because I encountered a different culture in New York. Let me know if you know what culture that is that has egg tarts as well. Hey, Sally says, hope you're having fun. I am having fun. It's such a beautiful city. Definitely, it's a city that is also relaxing. If you can notice, there's almost no noise. We're not surrounded by massive highways. It is also Sunday, so it tends to be quieter than usual. Benoit says, are you in Puerto Rico? It looks like Puerto Rico, but it isn't. It's not Puerto Rico. All right. Oh, is it because of Puerto Rican? No. No, I had these pastéis de nata, which is an egg custard tart. I had them in New York for a very long time because it is common in Chinese bakeries. A lot of Chinese cuisine, Chinese American cuisine comes from southern China, and it has a lot of influence from Hong Kong, which might also have got their influence from Macau, but there is a lot of egg tarts in Chinatown whenever you go to any of the famous bakeries like Fei Da Bakery. So here is a nice egg tart, but the big difference between the Hong Kong Southern Chinese style egg tart is that it's a little bit more kind of bready. This one's more flaky. Look at all these layers right over here. It's very evident right over here. Look at all these layers. It's more like a croissant. Still warm. Wow. It's warm. The woman gave me a second one for free because they're about to close. Get there just at the nick of time. They're making them fresh all throughout the day. That's a great thing about having these egg custard tarts. And this applies to other pastries. But definitely have one of these. Look at all that flake. Let me show it right over here. There we go. There we go. Look at all that flake. That is great flakiness. It's warm. It's very custardy. It almost tastes like a flan, but not as liquidy. It also has kind of that buttery taste to it. A little char. It's just a tad overheated, and that's the best part about the pastéis. You should go for the ones that have a little bit of black in them, like right up here, especially if they have a little bit of black. Look at that. That's when you get like kind of like that kind of the great part about pizza flavoring. Is that it has that little charredness. Ooh, look at that. It even pulls apart. It goes by fast, very fast. They cost between 90 cent euro to about €2. I think she charged me about 180 euro for one, and I got one free. Wow. Heavenly. Definitely give it a try. Pastéis de nata. If someone could write down the name, I'd be so appreciative. So how do prices run in price in general? You know, they are pretty inexpensive, but it depends where you're eating. The most expensive meal I had so far in Portugal was at a fancy restaurant in our resort in the Algarve. And this is where my girlfriend and I splurge. And we spent about 260 per night. Maybe a little bit more than that. And the restaurant we spent 157 euro for two. We had a lot of food. We had 3 courses. We had an entire bottle of wine. If I recall correctly, I even had like a cocktail. It was a lot of food. It was all covered on Instagram stories. So go to Urbanist Ariel, click on the Portugal highlight, Instagram story highlight, and you'll find it. But yeah, that's how much I spent. Or go to my Facebook or Instagram posts, and you'll see a photo album where I talk about that. That was the most expensive meal, 157 euro for 2. New York is way more expensive than this. New York nowadays, the norm for a New York meal for two is about $100. But in general, for two, we were spending between 30 euro and about 70 euro for most normal restaurants. It was only two occasions that we spent more than 100, and that's because we splurged. There was one restaurant we spent 118 euro. We bought like a half a pound fish, like two appetizers, dessert, ice cream, 2 bottles of wine, and we ended up spending about 118 euro. So a lot cheaper than New York. However, if you end up going to the Basha district, you'll end up spending prices that are much higher than going to here to Alfama or other neighborhoods. The same thing applies to the other touristy areas of Portugal, like the Algarve. If you stick right in the middle of the town square, you're going to spend about 50% to 100% more than you would going to just a few blocks over. Now, eating alone, if you have something casual, you won't be, for breakfast, if you want to eat a lot, like a huge meal with coffee, orange juice, yogurt, and some eggs, toast, you'll be spending 18 euro. If you want to have something simple, you can spend 6 euro, 7 euro. Straight out Queen says you spent 179 for two is a lot. It is a lot, but that's to clarify, that was our splurge meal. So we spent a lot to splurge. But generally we spend a lot less. There's a castle elevator. Huh. We can take an elevator downstairs. That's cool. And here's another lookout point. Oh my god, this one's a little hidden wonder over here with the rooftop bar. So in short, Portugal is a bit more expensive than Greece, but a bit cheaper than France or Italy. And definitely way cheaper than London or New York or Denmark. Denmark is by far the most expensive country I've ever been to so far. Dia says, is this your first time in Portugal? It is. And I'm stunned by it. So here we're seeing Basha. Part of my mispronunciation, but this is the city that was rebuilt after the great earthquake of 1755. That was immediately followed by a tsunami. That was immediately followed by a firestorm, all on the same day. A great trio of calamity. Terrible, terrible tragedy. But this entire district was rebuilt to be earthquake proof. And then we can actually see one of the few evidence of the ruins of the great earthquake, which is right over here, Carmel Convent, where the ceiling is actually missing. See the train station down there. Look at that. You can see another high part of the city. That's really cool. And we can see the bridge that kind of looks like the Golden Gate Bridge. Santiago says, wow, you are in Lisboa, Portugal. I am in Lisboa. Beautiful Lisboa. Right here we have the big plaza that's right by the riverside. This is the River Tagus. And that plaza was where the royal palace used to be. But in 1755, November 1st, a massive earthquake struck at 9:40 a.m. It's estimated to be around 8.5 in magnitude, making it an extreme earthquake. This shook the ground for 6 whole minutes. Fissures that were about 16 feet wide opened up in certain areas of the city. The first buildings to come down were the stone buildings because they were the most inflexible. That's why you see the ceiling collapse at that former convent. The castle, parts of the castle also collapsed. Many of the churches collapsed. But then, 40 minutes later, as people went over to the riverside seeking refuge in a wide open space, because the wide open spaces in the city at that time, this being a very dense city, was right by the ports. As people fled to the ports, they were met with a crazy sight. The water started receding and receding and receding and receding, exposing the riverbed and dozens upon dozens of shipwrecks. Some people even rushed over to the shipwrecks because they thought to themselves, oh my God, I can get some free treasure. This is a miracle. This was only 40 minutes after the earthquake. But then a rumbling sound, and this was not the earth shaking. The rumbling sound was a 40-foot wave come crashing into the city. A tsunami, followed by 2 more waves, and just kept pumping in more and more and more and more water into the city. However, this was All Saints' Day, and as I mentioned before, Portugal as a whole is a very religious country. That was true in the 1700s, still true today. But in the 1700s, All Saints' Day was an extremely serious affair. People were crammed into the churches. Candles were lit everywhere. And as the earthquake hit and then the tsunami hit, candles were knocked down and started fires all across the city and unleashed a massive firestorm that consumed the entire city in fire. The firestorm was so strong that it created its own wind. This was all the same day. 85% of the city was destroyed. That's the estimate. The high estimate of casualties is 50,000 dead. And the city only had a population of 200,000. That is nearly a fourth. That is a fourth of the city. Such devastation. However, shortly after this horrible night, day and night, they rebuilt the city in about a year. And just a few years later, you have much of what we see here today, built throughout the late 1700s all the way to the early 1800s. The first earthquake-proof neighborhood is where I walked earlier today, Basha.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, to this phone. Yeah, exactly.
But you can just imagine the waves rushing in. Solar Plexus says, have you noticed the immigrant drug dealers in Lisbon? Yeah, mostly in the touristy area of Basha, right down there. And unfortunately, they are a bit aggressive, which kind of sucks. Here we see the castle right over here. Alan says, I absolutely love the insight that you give us during our streams. Ariel, you're so informative. Thank you so much for bringing us this. Yeah, my pleasure. I'm so happy I can bring you all this history and knowledge to you. Dia says, how would you describe the vibe? The vibe right now is lackluster because it's Sunday and it's a major religious holiday. So a lot of people are not up and about. A lot of locals are not out and about. And it was very hot, so a lot of tourists are also not out and about. But in general, the vibes, I would say it is a vibe. It's both quiet and chill, but also vibrant. It doesn't quite have the hecticness of a Paris or a New York or a London, for that matter. it's not as kind of this charming nonchalance of Italy. This is like, to me, Lisbon feels very similar to Bushwick, Brooklyn, or Greenpoint, Brooklyn. It has this kind of like cool, calm, chill vibe, with a lot of little restaurants, a lot of bars like we see over here. So I really do enjoy it, and the people are very nice. They're very nice. The humor here is very interesting, because I had the chance to talk to a lot of locals while exploring, tour guides and waiters and such. Of course, they're not always representative of locals in general, but they give you a glimpse. And a lot of the humor has been lots of sarcasm and lots of kind of dry, straight-faced humor, which actually shocked me because it's not similar to other countries in Western Europe. It kind of, to me, feels very similar to Dutch humor. I'm not sure if anyone else has encountered that, but to me, that seems to be kind of the Lisboan sense of humor, is this kind of dry, if I may say, I don't mean this in an insulting way, a smart-ass kind of humor. Shreya Kui says, that's funny. It's like a Bushwick. Yes. To me, this is like a big Bushwick. That's how I feel. It's like if Bushwick was hilly, that's Lisbon. What's the nightlife there? It depends on what area, but there is a nightlife. I did not get to experience much of it. We wanted to, my girlfriend and I, but we just didn't have enough time. We just did so much during the day. We were pooped by the end of the night. But lots of restaurants are open. Apparently, nightlife usually is up until about 2 p.m. 2 a.m. or so. There's a lot of outdoor bars, like here. People are just kind of enjoying. I think people are waiting in line for a restaurant. Oh yeah, this seems to be a popular restaurant. People are waiting for a table. But there's a lot of outdoor bars and seating. A lot of kind of casual bars where you can just go up to like a kiosk and grab. Right over here is a good example. Actually, we're gonna pass by a few as we're exploring. Yeah, so here's a good example. Just a place where you can grab a beer and kind of continue on. There's live music here. This is a cool, chill place. Nina says, is it wine or beer that they drink most? I've kind of seen both. I think Portugal leans more wine for sure, but beer seems to be the outdoors party drink. Wine seems to be the thing you drink, sit down at a cafe or at a sit down bar or at a restaurant. And here we have, this is one of the more lively streets. A lot of the typical tourists don't venture here, but it's really worth it. That's a vibe. So we're still in the neighborhood of Alfama, if I'm correct. Santiago says, yes, it is wine. Yep. The only place I've seen beer to be drunk a lot is in these outdoor kiosks. And you can see a lot of See a lot of Brazilian influence for sure. Nina says, are the bathrooms clean? Yes, generally the bathrooms have been clean. So here my girlfriend and I stopped for food 2 days ago, right before she went back home. I'm continuing my trip on my own to enjoy, make more videos, but this is a great place. Boca de Uva. Which means the mouth of wine. It's closed today, but really, really great wine. Look at these little narrow stretches. Big Dave says, is the water safe to drink? Yes. Yes, Portugal is known to have very, very safe drinking water, especially Lisbon. And it is very common for people to drink the tap water. Unlike in Italy, where they won't serve you tap water, here they will. Here it's normal. It's a little bit more rare to ask for bottled water. Though bottled water is cheap, like it is in many other parts of Europe, like France or Italy. Colleen says, thank you so much for showing us around. My pleasure, Colleen. Mark says, newish fan here. Have you ever been or will come to Australia? I would love to go to Australia. Stay tuned. Jeff says they prefer English, not Spanish. Yeah, English seems to be more of the main second language than Spanish, for sure. Maria says, where are you? Lisbon, Portugal. I think I'm still in the neighborhood of Alfama. There was live music right over here the past few nights, but not anymore. Maybe it's Sunday, or maybe because we're still early. Was that dragon in the wall? Yes. Those dragons. Nina says it's hot here. Yeah, it is. Here we see another kiosk. Pretty empty today. And I'm going to show you a little square of another Airbnb I stayed at. So I stayed in so far in 3 Airbnbs here in Lisbon. I showed you one, which was right by the castle. I'm going to show you the second one, which I also stayed with my girlfriend. And this one was in a nice little beautiful square that's kind of hidden from view. I don't think too many tourists really know about it or actually make their way to it, but it just has 2 of the most charming bars. So let's take a look. Big Dave says parking must be a nightmare. Yes, and that's why you should not be renting a car if you're staying in Lisbon. It's not like American cities. You don't rent a car if you're staying in major European cities, and this applies to Portugal. A car might be necessary if you want to hop around between cities, for sure. And look, we have another lookout point right up there. Wendy says, watching you from afar. Wendy, thank you so much for tuning in on Twitch with the username Purple. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you. Okay, before I show you the tiny little square, I'm going to show you something really cool that I just like nerd out about. And it's right here. It's a street escalator. You know, I rarely encounter these. I think I encountered them only once in my life, and I forgot what neighborhood it was and what city it was. I don't think they exist in America, but it is a street escalator to go up from that large public square down there all the way up here. Look at that. So let me know, should we have more street escalators in our cities? I think it'll be so cool to have a street escalator that goes up from the lower area of right by the Fort Tyrant Park and the cloisters that goes all the way to Washington Heights. That'd be so cool. Mater says, any bananas in those Airbnbs? I took photos of one Airbnb. I took photos of 2 Airbnbs. Stay tuned. And then one I took a video of it, so stay tuned for that. Australia Queen says, do you follow recommendations or websites? I tend to really rely more on Google Maps, and I tend to rely a lot on local recommendations if they're given to me. I usually ask for those 2. Yeah. You also have to kind of be discerning when asking locals for recommendations, because it depends on the culture. And some cultures, they give you a recommendation to what they think you would like. This is very common in Greece. And then other cultures will give you a recommendation of what actually is kind of cool from a local's perspective. So Portugal is more of the second. So if you ask, they'll give you actually good recommendations. Hey, Alan says, I honestly thought you discontinued your live streams. So I'm very happy to see your adventures once again. I did. Alan, yeah, I did discontinue my live streams. But these are bonus live streams as we're doing this. So here's the way to that little square. Screenshot this street name. I'm going to pronounce it in Spanish. Pardon me. Rua João do Altiero. I just butchered that in Portuguese. Please don't deport me from the country. But screenshot that right now. Write it down in the comments so people can see it. Because this is where it leads to a nice little cute square. Wendy's asking, did I send out postcards? I did, Wendy, yeah. I did. And to you included, being the mega urbanist, I did send out postcards from Portugal. So stay tuned for the mega urbanists. Nina made, we gotta give Nina a round of hearts because Nina made a very impassioned plea for live streams in one of my recent short videos. So round of hearts to Nina for inspiring me to go live once again. So right down here, a little charming square, kind of hidden from public view. Woohoo, says Mater, yes. So we have a nice little wine bar. Little doggy. Hey, little doggy, how you doing? And here was my Airbnb. We stayed on the 3rd floor. Absolutely gorgeous Airbnb. A video will be posted soon of it with some Airbnb tips. I know Airbnb is controversial in a city like Lisbon. I still use it. I really do prefer it. But Airbnbs might not last for long in a city like Lisbon, as is the case with Barcelona. And this is just a charming square. So great little Airbnb. And this is one of the better vegan restaurants in Lisbon called the Food Temple, with an amazing sweet potato brownie, which is amazing. And then great wine selection. I'll show you a little party area down here. So this is a nice little private square. Not private, but a nice little square. Feels private. And you can eat right here at the steps, which my girlfriend and I definitely enjoyed many times. But here is more of the party area. And this is on a Saturday night, on the Friday night, it was really popping. To me, I'm not sure if this is similar to Brazilian culture. I've never been to Brazil, but this reminds me a lot of Mexican culture. I know they're not related, but Mexico also had these kind of little kiosks outside with fried sardines right over here. You smell the sardines, lots of people outdoors drinking. I'm going to be copyrighted like crazy here. It's a bit empty because it's a Sunday, it's a religious holiday. You can buy anything you want, any liquor. Sure, Queen says that's something I would like. Vegan restaurants. Oh yeah, man. I love this vibe. Hey, Big Dave says it reminds you of the state fair. Yeah, I can imagine. Was that? What's the prevalent smell? Fried sardines. And I refrain from telling you the other one, but fried sardines. Jeff says this area is the best for the Sardine Fest. It looks like they are ready now. Did you have ginja? Ginja. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I did. It was a great digestif. I loved it. So here now we are in another different square. Definitely more of a local vibe here. PowerPoint says, great to see you live streaming again. Yeah, man. Absolutely love live streaming. decided to distance from it a little bit because it doesn't get that many views nowadays, and they're quite time intensive. People really love the short videos, but I'm glad to hop on live every once or so, and you'll see at least 2 more locations within the next week on live stream, so stay tuned. Have you seen any westernized fast food places? Yeah. Not too many. There's a few pizza places where you can buy pizzas by the slice, like New York style pizza. There's definitely a few places to buy burgers, and then you'll find a lot of halal food, fast food, Middle Eastern food, definitely around the city. So yeah, you'll find definitely a lot of great food. But Portugal as a whole strikes me as a place that fast food is not that common. Casual food. There were certain parts of my trip where I had a tough time even finding something I could just grab and go. Generally, it would require sitting at a restaurant, though you can order usually to go from a restaurant as well. I think the ethnic neighborhoods definitely have a little bit more to go options. And here's the street escalator from the point of view of the bottom. So we were up there just a little while ago, and now we're at the bottom. See how easy it is to walk around? This is a super dense city, but it's like the size of 1 or 2 or 3 neighborhoods in New York City combined. It is not that terribly big. It just feels big because of its density and the hills. Here we have a massive line for the 28 tram. There's too many people on these trams. You get way too packed. Wendy asks, are they free? No, but you can use, I don't know the exact price. Just a 1 to 3 euro. I think it's probably €1 something. You can pay with Apple Pay. You can use your credit card to tap, as far as I know. Maureen says, missed you a lot, Maureen. I'm glad to see you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome. Wow. That's like a hop on, hop off thing. So this tram that we saw is tram. It's public transportation. So it's what commuters are using is just people. It's become such a tourist site that the 2 trams, the 28 and the 12E, are just jam packed with tourists taking them. But they are public transportation. And now you're gonna see how truly small the city is, because we're gonna reach Basha now. And Basha is the flat area that was redesigned after the earthquake, 1755. And we're about to walk through where I began the live stream earlier today. Alex says, you're missing the French Open final. Oh no. Hey. PowerPoint says, come July, I'll be doing live streams as well. Hey, man, that's so awesome to hear. Glad you'll be experimenting with live streams. They're a lot of fun. Ooh, some freshly roasted coffee. Nice. Shreya Queen says, you're a great walker. I do my best, you know, I got 2 legs. Wait, let me check. 1, 2. I got nice, good hiking sneakers, Converses, white. Always gotta wear my white Converses when exploring cities across the world, you know, because it's easy to keep them clean. And then, yeah, just enjoy keeping curious about all these different destinations. So let's see what's further down this way. Let's go down this way. Alex says, what are your go-to walking shoes? Converses, mids, Converses. Absolutely love them. Mids are increasingly becoming rare. Converses kind of keep discontinuing them, which is a bit of a shame, but I just love these sneakers. Why? Because the low tops are too low. So with low tops, you really feel the ground. The mids feel more like a sneaker. And then I put a shoe insert for a little bit more support, and it's very comfy. Very comfy. And then the reason I do buy white sneakers is because they're actually genuinely easier to clean. And then there's the second factor. White blends in if I'm going out. So if I'm gonna go out to the club or a nice like cocktail bar or a little bit more of a night out, I like to wear these white sneakers because they blend in a little bit better. They look a little bit more stylish if I don't want to carry a pair of shoes around, which especially in the summertime, I'm not going to carry shoes. I only have 2 pairs. I have these Converses and I have my sandals. They're also great for walking. And that's it. I don't carry anything else because I just don't want to be encumbered by too much luggage. So white Converses is great because it's easy to clean and they blend in with a little bit more night out situations. So this is the square that you can rent a tuk-tuk. I'll show you the tuk-tuks as I wait for the light. And the great thing about the tuk-tuks is that you can easily see what we saw right now walking. It took me an hour and 20 minutes. You can see in the tuk-tuk from the comfort of a tiny little vehicle, and the local guides are great. I just took one today and loved it. It was great. Now, pro tip, I'm not sure if all tuk-tuks are created equal. I'm not sure if some of them are honest while some could be scams. I don't know the details. What I did to play it safe is I went on Google Maps, researched the best tuk-tuk company. They are listed on Google Maps. You can find the ones that are usually parked here, and I booked it online. So I paid already, pre-book, already paid, got the tour. It was awesome and gave a nice tip because it was a good tour, and that was seamless. But if anyone else has been here, let me know what's your experience renting tuk-tuks. Shreya Queen says, you're a gentleman. And Shreya Queen says, I believe, I guess, in slow travel, I just go with the flow. Whatever I plan, have tickets for or not. Yeah, I do the same thing. I'm a slow traveler. I usually don't plan. It was actually very interesting traveling with my girlfriend because it was a little bit more of a vacation. She wanted to see a little bit more specific things. And I was met with like, it is nice to plan a little bit sometimes, but when I'm traveling on my own, I usually don't plan. I'm going to a new city, rarely plan. Only in my next destination, I had to plan 2 things because they get sold out very quickly. Otherwise, I really don't buy tickets in advance. I don't try to plan an itinerary. I just get there and go with the flow. So this is a little shopping area. Kind of cool. You can buy sangria, you can buy cocktails, you can buy pina coladas, you can buy ginja. Hey, Darlene says, it's so great to see you back live. Keep being adventurous. My pleasure. I'm so glad you're tuning in. Jeff says, the sidewalks could be slippery even when dry. Indeed they can. How are your knees keeping up with the cobblestone? I'm very used to walking, so I'm feeling pretty damn good. The only thing I could use is a very good foot massage. But otherwise, I'm feeling pretty damn good. I'm used to like walking. Uphill, downhill is not too terrible. Pretty easy for me, luckily. We got some beers. And Portugal is the center of the cork industry. Yep, those corks that are used in wine, and you can buy any souvenir you wanted to in many stores made out of cork. You can buy cork hats, cork purses, cork wallets, cork postcards, cork cups, cork coasters. You can buy cork underwear, cork shirts, cork armor. You can buy cork. I'm joking, but you can buy a lot of cork things. Hey, Shreya Queen says, shaking my head. I just learned from all my years in traveling just to go with the flow. I hated feeling rushed whenever I'm traveling. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's nice to feel relaxed and not really rushed when traveling. Can you cook us a meal at the Airbnb? Here in Portugal, I would not cook a meal. It's so easy to eat out, and it's not that expensive. Also, you know, I haven't spent that much time in Portugal, but I don't see too many like grocery stores on the level of what you find in France and in Italy. I forgot the name of the French grocery store where you can buy really good like cuts of meat, and you can buy like some pre-made items like mashed potatoes and potatoes au gratin. I forgot the names. Do remind me, but that you don't really see here. Or like in Italy, you have those stores as well. I forgot the name of those stores. Wow, it's been a while I've been to those two countries, but Italy is another country that has kind of these like meat cuts, cured meats, fresh steaks, and other meats that you can buy. You can buy like olives and like a nice grocery store. But I haven't seen these yet in Lisbon nor Portugal as a whole. So in terms of cooking, I actually don't know where to buy my ingredients. I've only seen like one supermarket on my walks here. Hey, Alex says, Akaraz won the Open. Oh, cool. That's awesome, man. That's great to hear. Are you on the new tour for a few weeks? Says M Wall. Nope, just traveling. Having a good trip on my own. Don't care, coffee. Hey, Mater says cork postcards? Yep, it's cork postcards. LA says, I learned about tuk-tuks from Gabrielle the Traveler. Ooh, I'm glad you did. Yeah, there's a few great vloggers here that do amazing content. Alimentari, there we go, Alimentari, yes. In Italy, it's called Alimentari. Thank you so much, Straight Out of Queens. So this is where I started the live stream earlier today. beautiful square. Highly recommend Lisbon. It's such a great city to visit. Such a blast. You'll see at least 2 more destinations in the next week as I'm continuing a little bit of travel, and then hopefully I'll be showing you a few more destinations throughout the summer. Stay tuned. Mostly short videos, but the occasional bonus live video will still happen from time to time. But do watch my short videos, and I also post a whole host of Instagram stories and Facebook stories. But go to Instagram, Urbanist Ariel. They're posted there throughout my travels. You can actually see where I'm going, what I'm doing, what I'm eating. And you can see the highlights. Just click on the Portugal one, the Portugal Instagram story highlights. Right underneath, my profile, you'll see all the travels I've done. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Lisbon is a blast. I showed you 2 of the Airbnbs from outside. I stayed in Alfama. I'll mention where I stayed in the 3rd place. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I really enjoy that people are tuning in all this entire time. An hour and a half walk, and we saw a lot. We went from Alfama to that other neighborhood up above, down to the area that was a little bit more grungier, all the way down here to Basha. It was an awesome walk. Keep being awesome, and always keep on exploring. And stay curious, my friends. Bye-bye.